For centuries, industrial capitalism has operated on a clear, structural logic. It claims resources from the natural world, land, timber, oil, and feeds them through the means of production to create profitable commodities. The digital age relies on a different extraction model. It claims human experience as its primary free raw material. The scholar Shoshana Zuboff maps the exact architecture of this shift. She identifies this economic order as surveillance capitalism. To understand how this works, we must construct a complete structural model of this extraction pipeline, tracing it from early search engine algorithms to modern systems of mass behavioral control. Doing so reveals that massive tech platforms operate highly efficient extraction engines, designed to claim and process human nature itself. The origin of this model dates back to the 2001 dot-com crash. Following the market collapse, tech companies faced immense pressure to generate actual revenue. Google's solution to this emergency required abandoning their early antipathy toward advertising. They realized the answer was already sitting in their server logs. Every time a user interacted with a search page, they left behind traces of collateral data. This included dwell time, peripheral clicks, and even spelling errors, a stream of information initially ignored as data exhaust. When pooled together over time, Google realized this exhaust provided reliable indicators of user moods and proclivities. It was reclassified from a waste byproduct to a predictive asset. This data became known as behavioral surplus. It allowed tech companies to build behavioral futures markets, selling the ability to accurately predict what a user would click, buy, or do next. Googlenomics turned the user into the primary raw material of the digital economy. This flowchart maps the initial stages. Raw human experience is processed into data exhaust, refining into behavioral surplus. Accumulating billions of these interactions transforms human desire into calculated fact, feeding directly into prediction markets. This shift led figures like Chris Anderson to declare the end of theory. Tech platforms moved away from sociology and psychology, replacing them with applied mathematics. Knowing why people do things became mathematically irrelevant. Tracking that they do them with absolute fidelity became the sole objective. This post-theoretical condition reduces complex human desires into predictable statistical outputs. Because prediction markets demand continuous economic growth, tech companies cannot simply rely on existing data streams. They must open new channels of extraction. This pressure forced the architecture of extraction out of the web browser and into the physical world, initiating a shift from web crawling to life crawling. To rapidly map the physical world, surveillance capitalists deployed geographic trespass, rendering physical spaces into data without seeking legal authority or personal consent. This began with digitizing public streets, but escalated to infiltrating private properties, rendering local businesses and domestic dwelling places. Within the logic of surveillance capitalism, traditional concepts of property, territory, and sanctuary are systematically effaced to keep the rendition engine fueled. Look closely at the wide array of smart hardware: thermostats, digital assistants, wearables. If you analyze them as consumer goods, their economic purpose seems scattershot. Inside a smart home, devices extract ambient behavioral data directly into the cloud. Manufacturers secure this via a dictatorship of no alternative. Attempt to opt out, and the hardware pushes you. Deactivating surveillance compromises the thermostat entirely, risking frozen pipes and disabled security. Leading a normal, functioning life in the 21st century has been engineered to require your total data surrender. An architecture built for ubiquitous monitoring naturally evolves into a system equipped for ubiquitous intervention. The data pipeline loops back to the original source, using its predictions to drive behavioral actuation. Traditional economists use psychological prompts, or nudges, to influence public behavior. Governments use them to encourage healthy diets. Surveillance capitalism took this concept and scaled it, resulting in the massive privatization of the nudge. Operating inside enclosed digital environments, data scientists manipulate choice architecture and psychological biases so that the resulting actions benefit the architect, not the user. The paternalistic defenses used to justify government nudges collapse when those exact same levers are pulled covertly for unilateral corporate profit. This digital architecture allows platforms to conduct massively engineered social experiments on their users, automatically, on a moment-by-moment basis. These perpetual experiments violate the common rule of academic research, which requires informed consent and strict protection from harm for all subjects. But surveillance capitalists argue they require access to human behavior in the wild. For the data to remain accurate, the subjects must remain entirely ignorant of the interventions. In this system, human consciousness itself is viewed as a direct material threat to commercial revenues. Traditional economics relies on conscious, rational actors participating in a market. This specific economic logic requires the active social production of unconsciousness just to survive. This completed diagram reveals a closed-loop economic model. It creates what Zuboff calls the social division of learning. This division represents a dangerous monopolization of knowledge. The extraction engine learns everything about us while intentionally keeping us blind to its mechanisms. This extreme asymmetry of information is incompatible with individual autonomy, human flourishing, and functioning democracy. Tech monopolies expand according to the strict logic of an extraction engine, operating exactly as designed.